Hey, what is up guys? Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to GT Sport. So at the time of this video's release, Gran Turismo Sports online services are no more. And whilst I didn't get started in GT Sport really in terms of YouTube, I got started at the beginning of GT7, I just wanted to go and say, you know, a quick thank you to a game that really kind of changed up the whole landscape of Gran Turismo. So the 31st of January 2024 at 6 AM, these services for the online were finally turned off. So last night I went ahead and, you know, kind of jumped on the game and checked out a few online races for the final time. Now, if you do end up picking this game up in terms of like a boxed release or something like that, if you never checked it out, there's still a ton of solo content to do. So my first protocol when I jumped on the game was actually to go ahead and just go through the sort of mileage center to kind of, you know, pick up some of the final few things that I might not have picked up over my, I guess, relatively short time on GT Sport in comparison to any other Gran Turismo. So I went out and bought up a few of these sort of Group B road cars and, you know, a couple of safety cars, some new wheels and such. I wasn't sure if the mileage center would still be a thing. I am yet to check at the point of making this video. In terms of jumping around and just having a look around the menus, we also had some, you know, final thank you for playing time trials. I didn't really bother doing these. I'm not much of a time trial guy. I'm just really not a fan of them. But it was nice to see a little thank you message from Polyphony themselves. So once all that was done and I kind of dived around the menus, it was time to get a few qualifying laps underway for all three of the sort of daily races that were there. We had one with the TT and then we also had a Group 4 race and a Group 3 race. Sadly, you'll see kind of what happened with the final daily race C last off. So first of all, we were going to jump into a daily race A for the final time, which is all surrounded by a one-make race with the Audi TT. It was a relatively average qualifying. For some reason my A ranking just doesn't carry back over to GT Sport, so I'm still stuck at B&S, which I was many years ago at this point, what feels like when I last played GT Sport properly online. So in terms of the race itself though, it's again a one-make race for a daily race A relatively short sprint, only 2 laps here at Kyoto Driving Park. Now a little bit of lag early on did make me be very cautious into turn 1, wasn't quite sure what was going to happen there. I did notice that the current state of the servers sort of last off were just not particularly good, but I did manage to get a couple of races in, which was quite nice, and sort of my, I guess, you know, farewell tour of online racing in GT Sport. One thing I did notice that the lobbies overall seemed much better and much cleaner than we see in GT7. Whilst there was a few moments and a bit of lag here and there, I'd say overall just the quality of racing, as always, was just better in GT Sport. I don't really know what it was, the transition from, you know, Sport to 7, but I do feel like the quality of races just throughout the entire game just sort of plummeted. I feel like Sport always felt better in terms of just cleanliness online and, you know, I guess just the standard of the lobbies. You know, don't get me wrong, there were still the dirty drivers there, but it just didn't seem as, you know, present. Now, we got it all wrong kind of coming towards the end of the first lap and picked up a ½ a second penalty, which we were going to serve on the start-finish straight. So we were up to P3. Sadly, that's going to kind of, you know, disappear, and, you know, ½ a second penalty is going to drop us back rather quite a bit. We did manage to cover off, sort of, you know, dropping all the way to P5 there. We did also have a blue flagged car there, which I think, you know, threw the guy off behind me, and he ended up running really deep and really wide into that corner. In terms of the handling physics though, the main, I guess, difference between 7 and Sport is just how different the cars feel overall. It was really weird getting used to how GT Sport handles in comparison to how GT7 currently handles, and personally I would say it is a massive step up in terms of GT7 over GT Sport, but it was still fun, you know, kind of learning the game once again. You know, it's very rare that I do dive back to GT Sport unless I'm doing some of the, you know, single player content. So, you know, trying to get myself a bit quicker online was definitely quite a bit more challenging than it ever is for GT7. So overall, we're going to end up with a decent run on the final lap even after that penalty, and we are going to basically finish where we started in our final ever daily race A. A nice close race up front there. Next up, it was time to go and get my daily gift. Now, who remembers these when you got a car pretty much every single day in terms of GT Sport? So I thought I'd pick one up for the last time before the servers get turned off. Again, I'm not sure if the mileage is going to be tracking, but we did get a Group 4 Renault Megane. Next up was daily race B, and this would actually end up being my final ever race while the servers were still live. Unfortunately, daily race C just did did not want to play ball. So we lined up P2 for this one, very close in terms of most of the times. There was a few towards the back that was, you know, quite far off the pace, or a couple that just didn't bother qualifying. Now I just went for the meta car here just because it's easier that way, to be totally honest. So I went for the Sirocco, which is pretty much lighting up those top 10 boards for the final time. Always a very, very quick car in this game. I feel like it's, you know, almost non-existent in terms of GT7 at present. And I'd definitely say in terms of my final ever race for GT Sport, it was perhaps one of the most enjoyable races I've had online in a long time in terms of public lobbies. So we got off to a decent start. We did manage to get a decent run up here, just kind of running in the slipstream of P2, managing to get that gap closed up before this really awkward section. Obviously, with it being late Major reverse, it's very, very awkward in terms of trying to, I guess, break that muscle memory of going the natural way around. Obviously, going the complete opposite way can throw off a lot of the corners. A lot of the corners feel completely different, and we are going to get it a little bit, I guess, wrong in terms of this section here. So it loops around on the left at the top of the hill. We're going to clip the grass. It's going to unstable the car, and then that's going to allow Spider-Man behind us there to kind of, you know, get up the inside, but he does end up then just ploughing into the back of us and putting us into the gravel, which was maybe not the best of times for myself, and was a bit frustrating considering I thought we had decent pace to be able to push on to maybe get the win here, but it just wasn't meant to be. However, this did give me the great chance to start fighting back through the field. So in terms of recovering, onto lap 2 now, and we do manage to get up behind the back of this Sirocco here. As you can see, we're going to see a bit of an opening here on the left hand side with him kind of being sort of caught up behind the Lamborghini there. We're going to put it down the left. He's going to run a bit deep, and through we go into the slipstream of the Lambo up in front. A little bit all over the place in terms of the Lamborghini. I don't know if it was just connection or it was just a bit of a wobbly driver, but, you know, we're trying to, you know, run in that slipstream, get the move done. So we're going to go up and then try and cut back onto the inside. The Lambo's going to take it a little bit deep there, getting all the way out wide. We're going to get a decent run off the corner and then try and out drag there. However, if you notice in the mirror behind us, the Sirocco does have a very, very good run, plenty of slipstream. He's then going to try and move on the inside here. Now, I know for sure this move is not going to work out very well. Someone's going to end up in tears. The Sirocco is going to run too deep and then up and into the barrier on the grass. That's going to allow us back through, and we currently run in P7. And next up, it was time to once again push on lap 3. So coming through this section here into the left-hander. Once again, where we just got the run on the Sirocco last time, we're almost going to get the run on this Sirocco here. So into the left, into the right, and again, we're going to try and get it so we get a nice run out of the left-hander. So we're going to try and go up wide here and then cut back on the inside, hoping that this Sirocco here runs deep, which he does. So once again, just like a repeat with the Lamborghini, we're going to bring it on the inside and just try and out-drag him there. Now, this Sirocco here isn't going to try anything on the left-hander. He's just going to tuck in and then follow in behind it. Probably is the best way to do it. To be honest, you don't really want two cars sort of going, you know, I guess too wide through this left-right here, because again, it's quite often a lot of the cars just won't see you and will just kind of go into the side of you, especially if you're on the inside. Now we're going to get a very, very good run through here, and this is going to allow us to catch back up onto the back of this Impreza here, just up in front, as he loses a ton of momentum there. So I can see he's covering off the inside line, so we're just going to hold back a little bit, try and dip back in on the inside. So as you can see, the Subaru just getting a brilliant drive off, obviously a four-wheel drive vehicle in comparison to front-wheel drive. However, overall, we're going to get a decent run in the slipstream, try and bring it out wide once again, see if we can try and get that cut back on the inside, see if the Subaru will overdo it. He doesn't. He holds that line very, very well. So again, we're then put onto the outside, trying to cut back into the inside, and it's just not going to quite pull off there for us. So into the final couple of corners for this layout. As you can see, it's the left-hander. He defends very, very well. I actually had a brilliant time here racing this Subaru. It was absolutely fantastic, some of the racing that was going off. We're going to run a little bit deep there. However, we are going to manage to get in that slipstream and start pulling. Now he's going to cover off onto the outside there. We're going to try and go on the inside. Now it's a risky move here. I know if I don't pull it off, I can just end up in the grass or just end up really upsetting his race, but we do manage to basically get ourselves clear as we get into that corner, and that was going to finish up my final sport mode race. So finishing P5 in the end after dropping back to P9, some fantastic racing throughout, and that would end up being my final ever daily race for GT Sport, unfortunately. So whilst I did end up doing a bunch of qualifying in an NSX for Daily Race C at Suzuka, that's really where I wanted to sort of finish up my sort of GT Sport online racing days. Sadly enough, I just kept getting this sort of timeout lobby where it would tick on 0 clock for, you know, almost the halfway into the actual race itself. So yeah, sadly it just wasn't meant to be. It did this both times for Daily Race C, it did it once for Daily Race B. So maybe it was a good thing that the servers, you know, got turned off in the end. But they were getting a bit rough. There was a few connection issues throughout, a few laggy vehicles, but overall the standard of racing in GT Sport, in my opinion, has always been top notch in comparison to GT7. Much cleaner, much, I guess, more respectful overall. Don't get me wrong, you'd still have a few dirty lobbies here and there, but definitely not on the level of what GT7 seems to, I guess, show off. Whilst GT Sport probably does remain as my least played Gran Turismo game of all time, I still absolutely respect it for what it did. It was something completely fresh and completely new in terms of console races, and you know what it did, the whole esports FIA back in, the whole, you know, I guess nations events and stuff like that. It just felt fantastic for this game. Always, in my opinion, better than what was kind of on offer in GT7 at present. I just feel like it was a completely different time. It was such a unique thing to see in terms of a console racing game actually taking itself seriously, and I think the lobbies showed that as well. It was a fantastic time. Whilst the game itself did originally just focus on the multiplayer only, it was built upon in a fantastic way with plenty of solo events, plenty of new cars added, plenty of new tracks. Overall, I feel like GT Sport just doesn't get the respect it deserved. It ended up being a fantastic product right to the end of its life cycle, and well, I am sad to see it go. Although my YouTube career didn't start with this game, I always have a ton of respect for just what this game did, and bringing in all those new esport fans as well. It just extended upon GT7. That's going to be it today. Thanks so much. Take care, guys. Peace.